In this video, I'll show you how to light a model from both the back and the front simultaneously using just one light.
Adorama TV presents Take and Make Great Photography with Gavin Hoey, where you'll learn how to take stunning photos and then polish them in post-production. Here's your host, Gavin Hoey.
Hello, I'm Gavin Hoey and you're watching Adorama TV, brought to you by Adorama, the camera store that has everything for us photographers. And today we're going to do a bit of photography and a bit of Photoshop, so I'm going to create a portrait with a bit of a difference. I'm going to show you how to use a single speed light, in this case, to create a backlit portrait. And then we're going to use a bit of flower to add a more interesting background. Now, the first thing about photography is light. Light is the most important part of what we do, and today all of my light is coming from this little tiny flash gun. This is my Canon 580EX Mark II flash gun, and if you want to find out more about using speed lights or flash guns, check out the Adorama Learning Center, where there is tons of information on how to get the best out of these little guys. Now, I'm going to be working with my flash set to remote. If it was a Nikon, this is a Canon, so it's going to be on slave mode, and that means it's going to be an off-camera flash. So I'm going to pop it on my little light stand here, and we'll just attach that on like that. There we go. Okay, so we've got a light set up and ready to go. What other equipment do I need? Well, background. You've seen me use this background before in previous videos. This is my little pop-up black and white background. It's black on one side, white on the other. I used it to do a self-portrait not so long ago. Other useful bits of equipment, well, that's going to include my 5-in-1 reflector. I'm going to need that, well, very shortly. You'll see how that comes in handy. And of course, a camera. Today, I'm going to use my Canon 60D, and I'll explain why, well, once our model gets here. Oh, two other things that are really important for this tutorial. One of them is a ladder, and the second one is a load of flour. And you're going to see what we're going to do with the flour in just a little bit, but I can see that my model is pretty much ready to go, so let's get the model into the scene and start taking the photographs. So for this shoot, I've got Christina. Say hello, Christina, to the amazing Adorama TV audience.
Hello.
And she's going to be modeling for me, and this is going to be a really simple shoot in theory, one light. Except where do I put my light? Well, I've got my speed light. I could light Christina from the front, and that kind of makes sense. But for this shot, I want some amazing rim lighting, and that means we need to put the light behind Christina rather than in front. But that obviously causes a bit of a problem. Let me show you why. If I put the light behind Christina here, and we're just going to take a shot, let's see what the end result looks like. Okay, so I'm using my Canon 60D with my Canon 24 to 105mm lens, and we're going to be shooting in manual mode because we've got the flash effectively lighting and powering the shot. So in manual mode, I've dialed in a 200th of a second, f11, ISO 100, and I'm using the little flash gun to trigger the main flash behind. So this will fire a pre-flash, and the big flash will go pop, and that will light Christina. Except will it? Because the light's behind her. Let's see what happens when I take the picture. Okay, so are you ready? Here we go. Okay, so when I take the picture, as you can clearly see, what we end up with effectively is a backlit shot. We've got Christina's hair beautifully rim lighted, but of course her face is in pretty much silhouette. And when you think about it, that makes sense. The little pop-up flash isn't lighting the subject, only the main flash is lighting the subject, and of course it's lighting Christina's back, not the front of her face. So to get around it, we need to add a second light source in. And my second light source isn't going to be the little pop-up flash, because this is small, hard lighting and not very flattering, and we want to flatter Christina, we want to make her look great. So we need a bigger light source, and I've got one. And this is it. This is going to be my bigger light source. So this is a 5-in-1 reflector, and we've got it set to the silver reflector. So the theory is pretty simple. If the light's coming from behind and we put the reflector in front, then some of that light that doesn't bounce off Christina's head will come around the outside, hit the reflector, and then light her face. That's the theory, but does it work? Well, let's find out. Okay, so I obviously need to move the reflector a little bit. So we'll put that nice and high, and we'll angle it down. And I also need to make sure that the light's in the right place, so I'm going to go round the back and just check that the background light here is actually pointing towards the reflector. which it is. Okay, so we're good to go. Okay, so same thing again, if you can just look at me, and here we go. So as you can see from the photograph, it's kind of worked. We've still got the rim lighting around Christina's hair, but we've got some light in the face, but it's not as dramatic as I would like. So to get around it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to increase the power of the background light. So at the moment it's on 1/4 power. Now I'm going to actually put it all the way up to full power. Now that's roughly 2 stops more light. Now that's going to make the glow around Christina's hair that much brighter, but it's also going to mean more of the light's going to bounce off the reflector and light her face. And that should give us a better picture. Let's see how it looks. Okay, so here we go again, same thing. Brilliant. Okay, so that worked really well. Now we've got a lot more light in Christina's face. It really looks much more dramatic. And from using one single light, we've managed to produce a picture that looks like we've actually got 2. But let's see if we can take this a stage further. At the moment, the background, well, it's basically black. And although that works really well, let's see if we can just change it a little bit by adding something in the background that's going to give this a bit of an edge. And that something is going to be flour. I'm sorry, this may end up getting a little messy, but we're going to put a little bit of flour in the background, just coming down behind Christina, but in front of the speedlight, and that's going to put a little bit of a, well, hopefully, a more interesting background. Let's set that up and see how it looks. Okay, so we've changed things around slightly. We've kept the light and the reflector in exactly the same place, but we've added a 3rd member to this team, and it's Sam up there on the ladder. And what she's doing is she's holding a little handful of flour. And this flour, she's just going to use it just to put some in the atmosphere just behind Christina. And when the flash comes through the flour, it should illuminate that flour and give us a really sparkly background. That's the idea. Let's take a picture and see how it looks. Oh, camera settings, exactly the same. No change in the camera settings, same settings as before. Right, off we go. So let's just come in like that. Brilliant. And again. So as you can see, that's worked really well. That flower in the background has taken that plain jet black, rather dull background and given it some absolutely amazing sparkle. And once we get the picture into Photoshop, we can even improve it still further. And I'm going to show you how to achieve this effect in Photoshop right now. So I took a lot of shots for this shoot, and it's a good idea because when you're using something like flower that's unpredictable as a background, the more pictures you take, the better. And this is probably the best compromise of all the pictures that I've got. It's good, it's got the backlit scene, the flower looks really good, although having the flower in the way reduced the output of the flash by diffusing the light a little bit more than I'd intended. So it's a little bit dark on Christina's face here. So I'm going to start first of all by getting the adjustment brush, and I'm going to increase the light by about a 1.5 stops, somewhere like that. Let's just make sure we've got auto mask turned off, and I'll just reduce the size of the feathering a little bit, and we'll just brighten up her face a wee bit like that. This is one of the wonderful things about shooting in RAW is you do get that little bit of exposure latitude, and that can really come out to save the day sometimes, like just now. Okay, so I'm happy with the balance of the exposure again. Next thing I want to do when I'm doing portraits is generally smooth out the skin tones with clarity. Thing is, if I increase the clarity, I really like what it does to the flower background. It really gives it an edge, but of course it's absolutely terrible on Christina. That's not a good thing to do at all. Similarly, if I take the clarity down, it works wonders on Christina's skin, but now that background is really losing its impact. So I'm going to mix it together by reducing the clarity, and then we'll fix the background with an adjustment brush in a moment. But once we're here in the basic panel, I think we'll also just bring the vibrance back down a little bit. It's just a little bit too warm in colour for me, and I like a slightly more muted tone for this shot. And also we'll bring the highlights down as well, just so we don't get too much flare from that background flash. Okay, so let's jump back into the adjustment brush. There's already one pin, which of course has the adjustment we made to the skin tones. Now we're going to just change the clarity, and all I'm going to do is click on the plus button. That will reset all of the other sliders, and I'll put my clarity to maximum, of course. And we'll just paint a little bit of clarity over the background, and that will help to restore that back to a much more edgy flower background. Now you can go more, you can click on the new button and repeat that again if you want to add in extra clarity in there. And yeah, let's go for a double dose of clarity because of course we reduced it earlier on. It will need that extra lift. And that gets me to where I want to be with my clarity setting. Okay, now I'm kind of happy with that. I think maybe just a few little general tweaks in here, maybe just a touch of general exposure and a touch of general contrast just to complement the whole picture. Then I'm going to click on Open Image and we'll leave the RAW file behind and we'll end up back inside of Photoshop. So last thing to do here is just a bit of tidying up in the image. So normally with a portrait I would go through and remove any blemishes and bits and pieces, but Christina has amazingly good skin, so we're fine there, but we do have some weird stuff in the background. And this is all part of the whole process of throwing flour around. You're going to get large lumps, you're going to get small lumps. Those large lumps don't work for me, so I'm just going to get the spot healing tool and we'll just paint them out with the spot healing tool, just going across. And with a few clicks, they are almost gone. There we go. A couple more to go. Use the hand tool just to move around. Hold the space bar to get the hand tool. And we'll go tidy those up. Now, I can spend quite a bit of time doing that and getting it looking good. But yeah, I think you should get the idea. In fact, I think that's pretty much all of them done. Okay, so there you go. That is really the only editing I need to do. But with my portraits, once I've resized this to whatever the final output size is going to be, I will do a bit of sharpening. And in this case, the only thing I'm going to sharpen would be the eyes. So let's get the sharpen brush here in Photoshop CS5 or CS6. And we'll just sharpen the eyebrows and the eyes just to put some real bite in there. And also the lips as well. And that is kind of my quick and simple portrait finishing off technique done. Well, it was inevitable that this was going to turn into a bit of a messy shoot and someone's going to have to clean it up. Today that somebody is me, but there you go, that's all part of the fun of photography. Speaking of photography, if you want to get more great photo training videos, then you need to click on the subscribe button and subscribe to Adorama TV. I'm Gavin Hoey, thanks for watching. Right, I suppose I better go back to work.
Do you want great looking prints at low cost? Be sure to visit our easy to use online printing service. Adorama Pix has professionals who treat your images with the utmost care that you can count on. For a quick turnaround on photos, cards, or albums, use AdoramaPix.com.